Here it is, ladies and gentlemen, for the first respondent to the 2009 Coro Center for Civic Leadership Alumni Survey, Mr. Ben Gettleman.
So exciting.
In 50 words or less, but since you're not writing it, you can go over or under. Please tell us your Coro elevator pitch.
Ooh. Okay. Coro is a nonprofit organization that runs a number of programs. The hallmark program being the Coro Fellows Program in Public Affairs, which is a 9-month program that focuses on civic leadership, where you do a bunch of different rotations in different sectors and learn a lot about leadership and have amazing access to people in high places with really great ideas.
Okay, thank you.
About 50, right?
Number 2, what are the 3 most valuable things you got from your Coro experience?
The exposure to a lot of different environments and the people working in those environments. I'd say the connections, and I think also the confidence to actually get things done.
What was your first job after Coro, and how did Coro influence you in getting that job?
My first job after Coro was working for Barbary Coast Consulting, which is a political consulting firm, and so that had everything to do with Coro because I didn't really consider doing that before. So I would say, yeah, it really shaped my interest in what I was sort of. It really, I think, piqued my interest in understanding what's going behind the scenes and sort of how things are happening, what's driving, a lot of different things around the city. So, yeah, it really piqued my interest in politics and that sort of area.
And did you get the job through Coro, essentially, or through a Coro contact?
No, I got it directly through Coro.
Good. And do you credit Coro with any of your other jobs?
Yeah, the one I got.
In addition to that? Oh, the one you have now?
The one I have now, I got through Pam Jones, through Coro, through a Coro alumni event that was at this very office where I met Pam. And let's see. I got another job. I did work for Rebuilding Together, which was a placement of mine when I was at Coro. So so I've gotten a couple different jobs. It's paid off.
Yeah, great. How does your Coro experience influence the way you work, interact, communicate, make decisions on a daily basis? 50 words or less.
Well, I think that the things that I picked up that were really helpful to me were, I think, active listening was a big one, and sort of, taking a break and really trying to understand what information someone has given you. And then I think the fact-based inquiry was one of the most important things that I use all the time, just really trying to tease out what are the facts and details that are interesting and important, and then what is just sort of narrative that you want to consider but isn't necessarily pertinent to the situation. So, but I think I use a lot of tools. I don't think that I do. I don't necessarily go through each of the steps of them, but I think that they're in there. They're kind of ingrained in my head. So I do use them. And now I work with Pam, and she's like Mrs. Coro, so we do this stuff a lot now, which is great.
That's great. On a scale of 1 to 10, how connected do you feel to Coro, with 10 being the most connected?
I'd say a 5, and it very connected. I'd say it fluctuates depending on, there's two sides. There's, what Coro is doing and the events they're having, and there's my own personal life and how much time I have to commit. So, sometimes it's a 8 or a 9, and sometimes it's a 2 or a 3. And I'd say, it's probably like a 4 or 5 now. After you start a new job, you just don't have a lot of time to commit.
So what since you're at 4 or 5, what would you like to see from us to make you feel more invested and engaged with the organization? Given the fact that you have a commitment to your job, but is there anything that you would like to see from the organization that would kind of pique your interest and get you more engaged?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think that part of it is that I'm just, I'm busy, so I have a responsibility in that. But personally, I enjoy less. I'm not as attracted to the sort of get-together happy hours, even though, no, that's not true. I like those too. But I do like the opportunities of actually engaging in one-on-ones or sort of more intimately with the fellows or youth fellows. And so those are the opportunities that I really look for, to actually sit down and work with someone and help them sort of, the mentoring opportunity is the most interesting to me. So, that tends to be when I'm most engaged, when I have those opportunities. I strike that. I do like happy hours, so let's keep doing that. Keep it up.
That's great. So what do alumni events do you find valuable? And then we're going to give you a list of event types to rate. But since we don't have those yet, you can't. But you just said happy hours are good at mentoring. Anything else?
Well, I think happy hour is good. I think that it tends to be the usual suspects, though, so I feel like we're missing a good portion of the pop, namely people with kids and things like that. So I think that I catch up with the regular people, the regular happy hour crew, but I think there are other Coro alumni that I haven't met or haven't seen in a long time that we just got to figure out how else to engage them on another level. So I think that's the trick.
How often do you interact with all or part of your Coro class?
I have two good friends that live in the city. Well, they live in the Bay Area, and so I see them really often. Most of our classes is on the East Coast, so I sort of unfortunately lost touch with most of them. And then there's a couple ladies who live, one lives in the East Bay, one lives in Sacramento, but they both started families, so not as closely connected, honestly, as I thought I would be. I think we were pretty close. We were really close when we were doing the program. And then the year after that, we were pretty close, and I think that, things just happen. So, and then I think that, some people just stay more or less engaged with Coro, which sort of affects your relationship with them, too. So.
As an alum, how could Coro play a relevant part in your life?
That question might need a little work. Well, I think that could be helpful. It's a little broad, but I think it could be helpful. I think that people are always looking ways to make new contacts and to get jobs, things like that. So I think that that's something that Coro has really helped me with a lot, and I think that it can help a lot of people with that. So that's a big one. I think there's sort of a continued learning opportunity that people can really benefit from if that opportunity is provided.
We've got to record it.
That's true.
And then, I think, so those are the big ones. I think that, I do think that Coro could be more, I think, receptive to all the different things that people have to offer. So if people have certain skills or certain experience that they can sort of share with other people, I think Coro can be that sort of go-between, and I think that could be something that's better integrated into the sort of interactions between alumni.
That's great. That's very helpful.
That's my stories.
And wait. Last question. Please, on a scale of 1 to 10, please rate your overall Coro experience, 10 being the highest.
Does that include the Fellows Program?
I think that's what you're asking.
Yeah, the Fellows Program. Yeah.
Oh, it was 10.
And I have a follow-up question to that. So, has that experience stayed with you? You used some of the Coro tools, so you came off of a high. And how many years ago did you graduate?
6.
6 years. So 5-6 years out, how do you feel? I mean, at the time it was 10. Do you still feel it's 10?
Well, yeah. I mean, in hindsight, I definitely think back on my experience, and I think very fondly to it. I think that, it's sort of like your interactions with Coro. I think your interactions with the practice also sort of ebb and flow. So I think there are parts in a job where it's really relevant, and you go back to it, and you realize it's such a helpful tool. And I think there's other times where it's just, maybe not as relevant. But I think it's comforting to know that it's not only that the tools are there, but that, the resources are there if you want to go back